Hello, friends, and welcome to another exciting episode of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. This is episode 22, also episode 50. We are 2 away from our 1-year anniversary, a month shy of Marvel Snap's 1-year anniversary, and we've got a really exciting episode for you here today. As you can tell, it's Glazer, not Roy. He should be back next week, all but guaranteed. Life keeps getting in his way. We still have some wonderful guests for you here today. Guests in quotation marks, because our first guest is the great, the most prolific man in all of Marvel Snap. We've got It's Guest Gaming. How you doing, Guest?
Fantastic. How you doing today, good sir?
Not bad. Guest, how could our viewers find you?
Literally, just type in It's Guest Gaming and you will find me, whether it be on Twitch, X. I'm the lead content manager at ccghub.gg. You can find me all over the place, essentially, just under the name It's Guest Gaming. Otherwise, you'll see me in every Twitch chat at some point.
Guest also is just phenomenal, and I could not suggest you find him on all the platforms more. We also have the rising star of Marvel Snap YouTube. We have Big Math. How you doing, bud?
Hey, how's it going?
Doing good. Where can our viewers find you?
Yeah, well, you can find me obviously on YouTube. So YouTube at Big Math. Yeah, that's pretty much where I am, but it's the same for Twitter. So you can follow me there as well.
Awesome. Make sure you check out Big Math on YouTube. Just get in on the ground floor. He's going to be like cozy level big, and then we're all going to be like, we knew him. We had him on the podcast when he was small.
I was
going to be awesome. I was there. I remember when he was little Big Math. Now he's big Math.
Bigger Math.
Bigger Math. Ooh, the number.
Progression.
All right. Before we get going to our topics for today, I'm going to do an abbreviated version of where to find us on our socials. We are Snap Judgments Pod on YouTube, where I post daily videos with at least 2 decks a day. You can find now a giant patch review there. You can find reviews of all the newest cards and deck guides for like every deck you can think of in Marvel Snap. In addition, I'm Snap Judge Cast on Twitter. You can find me there as well, and over on the Marvel Snap Zone Discord, although I'm in like every Discord, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm in too many, and I don't know how to keep up, so I mostly just pay attention to like 2.
That's pretty fair.
All right, let's get to our actual subjects for today. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about Werewolf by Night. It was released on Halloween, appropriately. Series 5, 6,000 tokens. It is after you play an on-reveal card at this location, at another location, move there and gain +2 power. Math, what you think about the werewolf?
I love the werewolf. I think just by design, I'm not familiar with the card as in like the Marvel universe, but for the game, I think it's a very fun card. I think the complexity of the card is just enough to be a good card. Perhaps I think maybe it should have been a Series 4 card. But nonetheless, as a Series 5, the complexity of just having +2 power when you play another unreveal and then the card move there and get +2 power, I think is just great. I think it's a great addition to the game. Yeah, and I'm super excited. I've a lot of deck I think Werewolf by Night will fit in, and I think there's going to be much more in the future as more unrevealed cards appear.
Yes.
I have not seen a card come to the game in quite a long time where I've looked at it on its release video and went, yep, they're going to nerf that. Because this is
Elsa.
just... Yeah, no, not even with Elsa. Elsa we knew was going to be good. Werewolf by Night, looking at that stat line, I'm sorry. He's going to get to Shang-Chi level in 3 moves. And if you look at half of the decks that are relevant right now in Marvel Snap, you go to turns 4, 5, and 6. Getting 3 on reveals to happen is unfair easy. Easy. So I'm very much on the board where we're hearing it all across the community right now. He's going to get nerfed. He's going to get brought down to a 3-1, or they're going to make him a +1 power, and then they're going to have to change him another way around. He's going to be absolutely vicious. And at 3-3, with that ability, he should have been 9,000 tokens.
I think I agree. Nico Minoru alone makes him a 3-7.
Yeah. All by yourself.
And plus, like the thing of controlling the power is also very, very good. You talked about, guess you've talked about Shang-Chi. So like you can just keep Werewolf by Night at 7, right? Just keep him at 7. And then if your opponent has initiative, then you can play something else to move it, because it's when you play a card and not when your opponent or when anyone plays a card, which makes it even better because it's going to get to a Shang-Chi level because it's when you decide, right? So I think that's very, very crazy.
I mean, how do you know where to Shang-Chi?
But yeah, that's a portion to it too, is that he's constantly going all over the place, where he's just going to ping pong across the way like Waldo, the Muppet of 3D. He's just going to be all over the place. And I feel like it's going to be almost a little bit of a dangerous concern, because we have very relevant cards, if you really read the ability carefully, that are going to over synergize with him. For example, Spider-Man, because it specifically says if you play an on reveal at another location, move there, which means where Spider-Man reveals is where he goes. So Spider-Man moves out and Werewolf moves in. So there's a lot of these kinds of swapping synergies as well that are going to ramp up cards like Kraven. That's just going to be absolutely bonkers. I can't believe they're releasing him at this stat line, which opens up a conversation for another cocktail. But I feel that he's probably the best investment of 6,000 safely for all players, versus Nico, who is the best investment for 6,000 for competitive level players, in my opinion.
He might have. I haven't like really even theory crafted this yet. Like I think he goes in Bounced. I think in Bounce he basically just replaces Bishop, right? Like
yes,
Bishop
100%.
has to do a lot of work to grow, and Werewolf just grows by accident. So like 2 triggers and he's as big as Bishop most games, which is pretty nice. But like you might just throw him in Loki.
Loki's
like, what's your downside
scary
of playing this on 3?
Oh, there's none.
Like
there's none. There's literally no downside to playing him on 3, except maybe he clogs a lane at some point. But think of double synergies with cards like Titania. You know, you have the Green Goblin Titania synergy, which is crazy to clog up the other half of the board. And then guess what? If they play a card over there, sends Titania back over. Okay, so if you play a card, since Titania was played first, Titania will move out of the way, and then Werewolf will move back in, and now you've blocked it. So there's just so many secondary move synergies that are going to be stupid with this card, yet alone with the relevance of how Loki at 4/5 is crazy as is. I don't think it even matters. He's just that strong.
It's hard to win let's go classic, right? It's hard to win a Heimdall lane. When Heimdall is played alone, you're like, 8 power is not winning anything. What if I added like 13 power there? I think that'd be good. Like now it's 21 power in that lane. Like,
yeah, I think Classic Move needed that actually.
Oh yeah,
I'm excited for Classic Move to just or full move to come back. I think this will be like a great addition, and also obviously like the Silky Smooth list are going to be great. There's just like the thing is like it's a 3/3, right? But like even if you're not playing a deck that synergizes with Werewolf by Night, like you're obviously going to play at least one other unreveal. So I think the easiest it's like a 3/5, which is a really good stat line.
I agree.
All right. We love this card. So I don't want to go ahead yet. I want to ask, so just full pull back the curtain. We're recording this the night before Mobius releases. I got a kid and I can't record on Halloween night. Sorry. Got a trick or treat. But you have 4 spotlight caches saved. You can open for Werewolf by Night, or you can save a week and open for Alioth. What you gonna do? Let's go
Werewolf
guess
by
first
Night.
this time.
Oh, I'm jumping on it. I don't even care. Werewolf by Night. Because Alioth, whichever you prefer, is a good card in very specific decks. It's a prio-focused deck. It's about keeping that initiative the entire way through, and your deck has to be built for that, just like if you play certain synergies that want to play afterwards, like you want your Shang-Chi and you want to go second, you want your Silver Server to rank second. Alioth is the same way. You're building your deck with priority in mind. With Werewolf by Night, you're playing it just to play it, because it's just hashtag pure stats. Thank you, Lammy series. Like that's all it is. It's just pure stats after pure stats after pure stats. And it's hopping all over. Like you remember that scene in The Mask when Jim Carrey's bouncing all around after he robs the bank and going all over the place, ping pong, ping pong, ping pong. That's exactly what I visualize with Werewolf by Night. You're just not going to be able to hit him.
Meth?
Yeah, and also, like, did you just so you said Alioth, right? So werewolf or Alioth, but aren't we? I don't want to jump forward, but I think we're getting a balance change to Alioth. I think that's the exact reason we're getting that balance change. Where don't want to spoil too much, but the change is it only destroys card if it's still there. And I think Werewolf by Night is not even going to get destroyed by Alioth. So even the one-on-one interaction of Werewolf and Alioth goes in favor of Werewolf. So yeah, I think definitely go for Werewolf. And I think also he just fits. Alioth fits in a lot of decks. Don't get me wrong, but I think Werewolf is going to fit in even more decks as he is right now.
I'm gonna throw it out you too that with Alioth, it's not going to affect Werewolf unless if they get played on the same turn. It doesn't matter if it's there or if it moves to that location.
Yep.
If it just happens to pop off. And either way, if you're playing Werewolf by Night on turn 6, you've already lost the match most likely anyway. So
that's
you
not
should have
true.
Should have retreat more often than not.
No, wait, like Surfer, just Sarah on 5, and then you go, like it's a 3/9, right? In a Surfer build, just play it on the last turn.
3 to 5 to 7, ramp up to 9. Yeah,
Surfer.
Honestly, it would be at a 9.
Like, this seems like a good stat line. Like American Chavez for
tad,
3 by accident.
Just a tad.
And because
I didn't think about Surfer. That's crazy, actually.
Yeah, like it's just that last turn. It's a 3/11. It's a 3/9. Yeah, right then and there.
They're all 3 costs on reveals? Almost?
Yeah. I mean,
Polaris.
You can Brood or Spider-Man or whatever, right? Like, it's just... And then there's 11 power in that final lane because that's where Surfer is. And so there's at least 11 power there.
So I'll give you the heads up on something that I've already got cooked. I'm going back to like semi-old like Move Surfer and looking at how the synergies work now with cards like Spider-Man and Ghost Spider and Iron Fist and Kraven and Cloak. So I'm running a 6-pack of 3 costs that all move around. Cards like Juggernaut, Vulture, Polaris, etc. And then having him just kind of ping pong in and out of the way. Because remember, Doctor Strange is also going to be able to pull off Spider-Man, even if you've already played over your Werewolf by Night at some point. Because both will then be by a 3/5. So they'll both move over. One will hop and one will move. And then you've got Vulture ramping up and you've got Kraven going all over the place and Cloak is just busted because when you on reveal, guess what? It moves over and gets +2 anyway. So it's like an over-eager card to get into the Cloak lane. Like, Move Surfer is going to come back as incredibly relevant, and I feel like it's something to look out for because there's that and on reveal Zoo. On reveal Zoo, turn 6, all over the place, forget it.
All right. Well, Werewolf is busted. One problem with Werewolf, just before we go forward. This looks like Rat by Night, so get a variant for this card.
Yes.
You should not be playing with giant Rat by Night.
Snaps.
All right. Let's look back at the rest of the cards for this month. We'll start with Big Math this time. Man-Thing, what are your thoughts?
I'm a big fan of all of the junk archetype, and that usually pairs up with the toxic archetype. And I've been loving the card. I think the power level, I think for that card, it's probably just right. I don't feel like it was a bad buy if you got him. I think it was pretty good. I don't think you were disappointed if you got Man-Thing. But design-wise, I think it's a very, very fun card. I'm really excited for Annihilus to, I think, play Man-Thing with. I think I think it's a really, really good card. One of my favorite cards that was released in recent times for sure.
Yes.
I feel like we haven't hit our stride yet with Man-Thing because it all comes down to what cards also revealed around it and how long is it going to take for Luke Cage to disappear again. Because the second people stop playing Luke Cage and then they stop playing Shadow King, we go through these waves. And the second everyone started doing Man-Thing...
Wave is dead.
Yes, Wave is dead, but just the ebbs and flows. There you go. We'll rest in peace, Wave. The ebbs and flows of what the affliction archetype will bring to the game. We haven't yet seen Man-Thing regularly be that fantastic. He's good. But 4/5 is a good stat line, but kind of like I was saying earlier, where you feed up different levels of importance when you have more and more cards that take advantage of the effect. As long as Luke Cage is relevant, he's not. So I don't think we found our stride yet with him, but it will happen soon.
Matt?
Yeah, I think it's like the kind of thing where we need something more, right? We need more cards to work with. We need like another Luke Cage. And what I mean by that is like another thing that plays well with card, with like poisoning your own cards. So I think it's like starting or pushing an archetype a little bit forward. That's why I mentioned a bit Annihilus earlier, because I think we're going to be able to downgrade cards and then push them on the other side of the board. But I really love that archetype, and I think we need to push it. But obviously, when we start a new archetype, there's cards. For example, Black Knight is another. I don't want to jump forward, but that's another example of an archetype we're pushing a little bit forward. I think it's needed in the game, but like, yeah, if you just by itself, it doesn't feel too great in the current pool of cards.
So, I think Man Thing might be in, according to Second Dinner's stats, the very best deck in the game. Glenn earlier said that Darkhawk was like a top 5 win rate and might have been in the best deck. And like, according to every stat we've got access to, that's that Norn deck that's running Man Thing with Darkhawk. And like, so I don't think the card is that great. It never feels overpowered when playing with it or against it. But it's possible that it's just better than it looks. It's
Maybe.
better than it even feels. That's
Probably.
crazy, right?
That's
I like
scary.
I like that our brains, like, it's not flashy, so like our brains are like, whatever, it's fine. But like, it might be in the best deck in Marvel Snap right now, or at least until the patch made the game entirely different.
Stay tuned for an updated Pulse video where he tries the deck and goes 20-0 with it.
Yeah, because I am never playing on stream. I just don't have time for that. All right, let's move to Black Knight. What do we think of Black Knight? Guess first.
He's fun. That's literally
Okay, that
all I
was
have
easy.
to say. That's it. It's just, he's fun. He doesn't break the archetype. He's not the best card. He's not the worst card. He's just an option. He's fun. Math?
So he's a tale of two cities.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I just mentioned earlier, I think he's like, we're trying to create a new discard archetype, but a lot of cards that work well with discard don't work well with Black Knight. I think the best example is like MODOK, where MODOK's going to discard your whole hand and discard the shard, and then you're just not going to play the shard, so you can't play MODOK, but MODOK's the best discard deck, so it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's really hard. I don't think it's just a hard puzzle to solve. I think we're just missing some pieces of that puzzle.
Yeah, he's fine. He's good. He's fun. I like him.
Yeah.
I play Hella. All right. All right. So everyone want to just say it's great, and we can move on. Nico,
It's great.
Math?
Move on. Done.
Wow. Okay. Great,
more complicated.
very
Let's
fun.
go.
Yeah, no, much more complicated. I love the design of Nico, but I don't think we need too many Nikos in the game. One is perfect for a while. Very, very fun. Obviously, low cost cards are played in more decks, and especially discard. Very, very fun. But we have to chill a bit with the complexity. That's why I'm happy of having Werewolf by Night releasing. Guess?
I mean, Nico, I said it earlier, is probably one of the most integral core pieces for competitive play right now in Marvel Snap. And we'll see that over the course of the next several weeks as all these different creators and different outlets have different tournaments and events. And you're going to see Nico. There's no question in my mind that we're going to see Nico pop into those top 8s and top 4s and finals and potentially win it because of the flexibility of the card right now. The card is just absolutely bonkers to work with no matter what you have. Because the way I look at Nico is if you know how to play around Volmir, you know how to play around Nico. You know when to wait, you know when to pull the trigger, and you know when to move on. You know when to sacrifice. It's just like learning that. So if you've got that mastered, you're going to master Nico, and you're going to do great in, conquest and competitive play. I think she's just probably the most complex card, obviously. And I agree with you, Big Math, that we don't need a lot of these. Like, this is very Thanos-y. A lot of people will compare it to Thanos that, okay, we got that. What was that? February or something like that? Like way back in the beginning of the year. And it's been 8, 7, 10, whatever it's been months. Every 6 months to have a cool card like that come out, totally fine with that rate. We don't need it that often. But don't forget about it because we really like when you do bring it to us.
So She's the new Jeff. I'm very excited for how do you replace Nico in every deck for now to eternity.
Yep.
But she's the new Jeff. She's just like, I've got an extra spot in my deck. There's everything this card does is good. So I add Nico. And then it's probably too good at that. Like, I think it might even be better than Jeff, and Jeff was already pushing the limit. But, like, just get a copy of a card. Like, I've lost 16 cubes in the past 2 days to forgetting that they can push something to the right. I played a lot of games of Marvel Snap, and I'm like, oh, Crimson Cosmos, my 9 power wins here. And they're like, punch that Hitmonkey over? And I'm like, oh, right.
So how would you balance her then? If you think she's...
I think the skill cap of her is going to keep her balanced for now, and I think that they actually do a really good job of this. And as much as it frustrates many of our compatriots, they don't balance for the most competitive players. They balance for their community. There's, generously 200 uber competitive people, right? Like, if you're in the top, like, let's say there's 10,000, like we're really stretching it, right? There's 10,000, but there's 10 million people playing it. So, like, you balance for that. Those people love Loki. Those people are not breaking Nico. So you just sort of leave it until it hits a breaking point.
I think a part of it, too, with that is understanding that play rate is different than win rate. Mm-hmm. And that's important when people look at all of these billions of different ways that you can look up your statistics, and you look at play rates of a card and win rates of a card and average cubes of a card. And when a card is too popular, we've even heard it from the devs in Multitude that popular isn't bad. Win rate and average cubes per game, that's what they're watching more than anything else. Like when Galactus was at a 15% win rate, but still was at a 15% play rate, but under a 60% win rate. That's why they didn't touch it for so long. Then we had all these other pieces that broke the deck, and then they had to make adjustments. But it took time to break that threshold. Nico is not going to necessarily break that threshold in her current condition. I think she's good, but as you said, she's not breaking the meta right now. She's just feeding into a billion different versions of it.
I also think that Thanos deck that's been the top of the meta for a little bit is about to take a big dive with this update. And that'll hurt her too.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
But actually, Werewolf by Night, isn't Werewolf by Night working very well with Thanos?
Yes.
Stones?
So yes, but it's
for the most part,
managing space is really hard. That's like, you want skill cap. Right? Like, I can only play 2 stones this game, or I'm not going to have room for my end game, is rough.
So what about a destroy Thanos? I'm just openly theory crafting.
I mean, I don't see why that wouldn't be good.
Destroy
Killmonger triggers Werewolf.
Thanos, eh?
I mean, since death is now completely unstoppable in the meta.
Oh, at the moment. Get into that soon.
Well, let's use that as our transition point to start by, let's do OTA first. Because we haven't released an episode since the latest OTA. Let's go card by card. We'll go relatively quickly, because this is slightly old news. But let's start with Big Math for Elsa, now giving +2 power instead of +3.
I think that is extremely expected. I think everyone has been waiting on that change. Kind of sucks that it's a season pass card. I think I'm regurgitating everything that everyone's been saying. Kind of feel like cards that are in the season pass are good while it's that season, and then once the season ends, they nerf the card. I think that kind of sucks, but the change is obviously good and warranted. But yeah, in the back of my mind, I keep wondering if it was on purpose just to make more money. But I guess that's not too important. It's a business after all. I'm gonna step on that theory right off the bat, so we don't start the conspiracy people going chaotic.
But we've got a whole section. We've got a whole section devoted to that later. We could do it now or later.
Yeah, just no, stop it. Unlike the change that they made to Loki, where they went to 4/5, I get what they're doing with that, and I'm curious from their end, from the second dinner side, what were the synergies or the turn-based play synergies that made them say that 4/5 was the answer? Was it the combination of playing Loki plus Collector plus Loki specifically on turn 5? Was it the combination of ramping on turn 6, in synergy with Coulson to play those 2 3-cost cards? Like, what exactly was their trigger point that said, okay, making this 4 cost, that's the solution that supposedly fixes this?
I know the answer, I
Meanwhile,
think.
I don't think it did fix it.
So Loki's the best thing in the game. Look, Elsa's the best card in the game, but Loki is the best deck in the game. I think that's how I would phrase it. I don't think that they thought that they were breaking Loki. I think that they thought that they were going to do that thing where they nerf the card, like they nerf Shuri, and everyone just sort of stops playing it because of the mental thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
Makes sense.
They severely misunderstood how broken we all knew Loki was. So it took a day before everyone's like, no, Loki's still the best. Let's just play more Loki decks. But like it took like 2 months or a month and a half before people like went back to Shuri, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it just, and that was like almost less of a nerf.
Agreed. I do think I'm going to feed you one idea, and I want to hear both of your opinions on this, because we know they have the programming to do this. Mm-hmm. I think eventually Loki gets switched where it does the swap, but only the 2 leftmost cards have reduced costs. They take the old Nakia style Shocker, those mechanics, and that's how they implement it into Loki in the future. And then at 4/5, I think he's still valuable for the ramping of Collector, but not all of the super cheap cards.
I mean, I'd rather they just went back to a 3/5 and got rid of the cost reduction entirely.
Ooh.
You need Quinjet or Good Luck, and then Killmonger ruins them.
Personally, I love your suggestion, Guest. I think that would be actually a very good change. I think it increases the skill cap of that card a lot. For me, I think that's very cool. I don't think it adds that much complexity. I think that would be very cool. Is that your prediction, or is that what you want?
It's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. It's something I've thought about before they went to this change, not at the 4/5 stat line. I thought they would do that at the 3/5 stat line. So kind of in between where we are versus where Pulse kind of wanted to go with it, which is just keep it at 3/5. Just remove the reduction entirely. I think there's benefit to the cheaper cost, and there's benefit to the reduction of the cards. So maybe that's the happy middle ground.
So I think the problem with sort of like they have to be very careful with Loki, and I don't think it's because it's a season pass card or anything else. I think it's because they very rarely add wholly new decks to Marvel Snap. And Loki immediately came out and was a deck, and I don't think a card made a deck. I don't think a card came out and a new deck existed since like right at the same time whatchamacallit came out. Kitty came out right with High Evolutionary. Kitty was re-released with High Evolutionary. Yeah. And we haven't had a new deck in Snap since then. It's been like variations and alterations on the same stuff. Mm-hmm. But like, I think because they released Loki, and like, if you kill Loki, then there's no more Loki deck, obviously, right? And just removing an entire archetype from the game, I don't think is something they're in the mood for. So I think they're going to continue to do half measures until it's sort of like, unless they run out of patience for at least the foreseeable future.
So I actually wanted to ask you guys, do you guys like more season passes like so that creates a completely new archetype, but sometimes it's a miss, sometimes it's not? For example, I'm thinking obviously of Phoenix Force. Do you guys rather have like a Ghost Spider
Phoenix Force
something?
Is a new deck.
Yeah. Well, Phoenix Force is a new deck because it's like a move archetype, but it's, I guess, destroy move. I'm still on the fence about it. I don't know what I prefer. What do you guys think?
So what Glenn said... Oh, God.
No, I was just going to say, I don't mind a new archetype being made. Like Phoenix Force being made, not a problem. The problem with that was that it wasn't a competitive, it wasn't a super high-end archetype, so much so that they released it and they had to buff the card in the middle of the season to try to make it relevant and get people to buy the season pass, to be completely honest. That was a business move. This is what they did to Elsa was completely the opposite, because she was just too busted and strong. So they did exactly what they needed to do to keep the game level, which is exactly that, level. But I don't mind them making a new archetype as long as they find the spot within the full scope of the game. That's that nice 45 to 55% win rate sweet spot.
So Glenn says, he said on the podcast, this one, that So what he wants to do is experiment with season passes to try and figure out different things. Like Dakin's experiment was to see if a whole season could be the season pass, right? Like everything synergizes. Where Loki's was to try and create a new deck, and Phoenix Forces was to try and tell a story. He liked that the card had its own like little story that it was telling. And like that each of these had a different like thing that it was trying to do. I think the Elsa mess up was extremely foreseeable, but, and like this is a big caveat, it's worth remembering, like as we're like they're doing this and that we all, like all of us thought Loki was mid. Like no one thought Loki was going to be better than Alioth. No one thought Loki was going to be better than Mobius, except safety. But like it's just like they probably tested and were like, oh, Loki's pretty good. Good, that's nice. Right? Like, I don't think they're trying to make busted season pass cards, and I don't think Miss Marvel is busted, and I'm not sure, despite everyone yelling about it, that Sebastian Shaw is going to be busted.
Right.
I think the most important part for me, a season pass, is if it's fun. I think because everyone's getting the card, right? So, like, I think Loki, forget the stats, forget how it's broken. Let's say it's the most balanced card. It's a really fun card, in my opinion. And I think that is the biggest aspect for me for a new card. For me, like, for example, Dakin wasn't the most fun, in my opinion. I know a lot of people did enjoy it. So, yeah, I think it's like, it just depends. But I think it should be a variable that they keep in mind when they design a season pass card more than any other cards in a season.
I could see that. Use the fun as the FOMO.
Yeah, that's very fair. And I think it synergizes with the collector in that sense of, I'm glad Second Dinner is reverting. And they kind of did the same with Uatu as well. They went back to their old power lines. And it shows just the notion that they understand that they're going to make changes, they're going to make mistakes, and they're also going to revisit, even if it was just touched. Look at the stats and see how it's doing. You know, they play it cautious, and if they need to, and they'll adjust as needed. So they went with Loki. They thought the collector adjustment might do it. It wasn't enough. They looked at more stats and then put collector back and said, "Okay, thank you for your time, collector. Let's give you back what you deserve." And that's exactly what they did with Uatu too. They did it the right way.
I love the Uatu change.
Me too. Collector's going back to 2-0 in a week. Wait for it. Never mind. Sorry, we didn't realize Loki was that good.
No,
they killed.
No. Hold Angela. on. We're not done. No.
There's more collector.
They're not going to touch collector because they've made that mistake. They're not going to go to 2-2-0-2-2 to something again in the span of 2 months. They're going to make
they do. Wouldn't it be fun?
It'd be great. Not going to lie, but I don't see them doing that because they've already publicly admit that the reason they did it was to have more time working on Loki. And they know Loki's the problem. Now that Loki has been addressed, let's revert him back. Collector is not going to be the backup baby while Loki gets looked at all the time. Because Collector should not be paying for the sins of Loki. We saw that with the Shuri Red Skull deck. Collector went through that once. He's already been scarred for life. There's only so much therapy that will help the Collector from this point on. Do not keep nerfing him. If anything, readjust Loki again further. And they probably have those dials to do that. However that was yet to be seen. But I do agree with you. I think Loki will be reinvest into differently in the future. Even when you have other synergetic cards like Angela, who were heavily adjusted for that deck simultaneously, even though she affects all the deck changes, I think Loki's he's got more work to do. But let's go math. Going on to the Angela thing for a second. Are you on board with the Angela change? Because I know it was needed, but are you on board with it?
I'm just tired of every card getting just this +1 buff. Like they all end up going just +1. And probably is going to happen the same thing to Werewolf, where basically they just readjust the stats because they realize +2 is too good. I obviously was needed, but I don't know. It kind of hurts. I love Angela. She's another card that's been changed so many times. And then now as a 2/2 +1, I think she loses a lot of how can I say it? Personality in the card, which to me feels a little bit bad.
I mean, I think she's bad. I think like she went from great, like one of the best cards in the game. I think she's like, so you're giving up a lot of information by playing Angela.
Yeah.
You know you're committing to that lane. Your opponent knows you have to play there, otherwise you just played a mid card at best. So like now I just don't think it's worth it. Even if it's a 2-5, 2-6, I just don't think it's worth it because you're just giving away so much information by playing it. I think that it was time though. Like it's been the best card in the game since, or one of the best cards in the game since release. Guess.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, she's always been a very good card in all of her different versions, but the only thing that I really noticed with this specific OTA, and it does synergize back to the collector conversation from earlier, that it did create two very specific versions of bounce. Because now, if you have like a move bounce focused deck, the Elsa Bloodstone, fill it up with, Jeff and Nightcrawler, there's that version of bounce that works very well. That works well with Angela. And Kitty Pryde obviously works well with Angela. But there are versions of bounce that don't need Kitty Pryde. OG bounce never needed Kitty Pryde. And if you go back to those, collector's now better for bounce. I know. I have been testing it out the wazoo and winning with Darkhawk bounce, which is, as you've put out as a video recently, one of the most broken decks in the game right now. Take out Angela, put in collector, and thank me next week.
Fair. Sauron? Whatever.
Yeah.
Like it lost a power. We're happy it lost a power, but who cares really?
Doesn't matter at all.
I mean, it matters, right? Like, so
Nothing
we say that, right?
Really
like,
matters.
So, remember? I don't know. I would assume. I know Guest was playing. I don't know if you were playing Big Math when Sarah went from 5-5 to 5-4. I immediately lost 2 or 3 games from that one power. Right? Like, it's a real thing. You will lose some percentage of games because you have one less power.
But let me tell you why it's completely different. It's because the Sauron Shuri Red Skull deck is a deck that slams so much power that one power doesn't matter. While like a Sarah control list, we always count that one power. We need to win one power in one lane. We count everything with like our Shang-Chi Enchantress. So that's why I think it's completely different.
I've already won a couple of Shuri games. I haven't had it matter for Sauron yet, in fairness. But I've won a couple of Shuri games because they're at 29 power when Shuri Red Skull is down, not 30. Where I've gotten to 30, right? Like it's not like important, but it's also not nothing.
I think if you look at the full compound of what's happened to the deck, that's what they're looking at. Because if you're playing Sauron Shuri decks, you're typically doing one of two things. You're either stacking your armor, Sauron, and then later on go to your Taskmaster there, or you're doing your Sauron, Shuri, Red Skull / whatever into that lane. You're building those multiple stacks. So you have the nerf onto Shuri for 1 power. You have the nerf of Sauron for 1 power. You have these little pieces. It's a collective thing. That's what they're trying. I just don't think it's enough, and I don't think that's the solve for the Shuri deck.
Yeah. All right. Uatu? We talked about, I guess. Hellcow now has 8 power. This is
good,
really great for discard, right? Like, yay!
Woohoo! It's
it's
reviving
very good
an
for
option. Oh, sorry, no, go ahead. I didn't flag you. Go for it. My bad.
I just want to say that it's really good for new players. Pool 2 players, I think. A 4-8. It's a pool 1 or pool. It's a pool 2 card, right? Or is that a pool 3 card?
Series 3, I believe.
Series 3 for Hellcow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, completely scratch that. But yeah, I think it's just like it's good stat line, but I think the effect random discard is just not really consistent, I guess is the best way of saying it. But I mean, I've seen some players play it. I've definitely been surprised, but like I don't think it's going to fit in any top meta list, even with that better stat line. Guest?
I think that it's just reviving for many players that are coming to the game now. The notion that they can be a part of a competitive discard deck without having a Series 4 card. Because people that have been in the game a long time forget that MODOK is Series 4. And you are going to have to get tokens, and it's going to be a hot minute. But if you get that Hellcow now at a 4-8, yes, you have that random agency in there, but at least it's a good stat line. It's a good replacement. And I think that's a part of what they're aiming for is introducing more people earlier on into discard rather than waiting until they have MODOK to make a real quote unquote discard deck happen, which is kind of ass backwards versus what I think they did with Spectrum.
It's an okay backup MODOK. I played, I don't know, 2 or 3 days of discard right after the OTA. Like, it's a fine, like, you throw down that and Blade on 5, and like you're not sad. You'd figure out what order is best for you, and then like you can still drop a decent size Apocalypse, right? Like, because you still have other cards, and you like there's not really bad hits in the hand on turn 5. Yeah. So at that point, you're not like super sad. It's a fine card. It's not MODOK, but it shouldn't be MODOK. It's good. And it also now gets its power away from Sif, which was just a flat out better card, and is now a different card, and cards being different is good. Besides Swordmaster, who needs a rework of some type.
Agreed.
Spectrum's amazing. Math?
Yeah, I love Spectrum. One of my favorite cards in the game. Perfectly lined up with the reveal, the release of the Marvel movie, right? The Marvels. I think she's in it. 6/7. That's pretty good. For me, I'm playing Destroyer Spectrum. I love that archetype since the longest time. I'm not too sold out on that deck as of yet, but it's definitely a good bump. And I know like a lot of other content creators have been playing a lot of Spectrum decks. I think this is probably the biggest change people have been talking about. Yeah, very interesting, very fun. 6/7, that's a pretty good stat line. It's like some people have been comparing it to Doctor Doom in like an ongoing list. Yes?
I honestly think it's a little bit of a flavor of the week thing. And I think that it's good. But her 2 power is not as impactful as Venom getting 2 power. When Venom got 2 power, it completely revitalized the card, and it was in every single deck. And still to this day, back now, it has that one change completely revived Destroy. I think Spectrum going from 6/5 to 6/7 revitalizes her, but doesn't necessarily make her meta competitive and relevant. I think it makes her another option that is just as good as some of the other tech or power options you can put into ongoing / Thanos lists.
So how many targets do you want it to hit for it to be valuable in your opinion? Is it 2? Is it 3?
It's got to pass 6/12. So you've got to have it hit at least 3 ongoings for it to get to that 6/13 stat line, which is great. Which is why, for me, what I thought would have been a lot more interesting was making her a 6/3 that gives +3s. Because the +3 effect we learned from Silver Surfer isn't necessarily the best thing in the game at a 3-cost card. But at a 6-cost card with low power on that individual card, in my opinion, that builds a complete archetype.
I think it's an archetype. And I don't think ongoing or on reveal are meant to be your endgame tier 1 archetypes. But if you have Thanos now, if you get to series 3 and use all the they believe they still give you some tokens upon reaching X point of the game. And I mean, look, it's been a long time since I've been there. But if you just use that on Thanos, you now have a build that can compete with endgame things. Is it going to beat everything? No, but like you have a competitive real build with just this buff. And I think that has value. And I think like there's enough good stuff to do with this that it's a powerful deck. If they made this buff in a wave meta, I think that this would be like nearly like in a previous good wave meta. Then like I think this would be like nearly busted. As is, I think it's just good, and I think like just good is kind of a good place for a Series 1 card. When we're in endgame. All right.
I think that's fair.
Patch it up. Patch time. Ready? Mobius on reveal only this turn. Oops. Loki good.
Just
guess.
So, as you referred to earlier, we're recording this with this information. Now trying to digest it because it's very fresh to us, and thank you to the Marvel Snap, creator program to allow us to create this content. ahead of time trying to ingest, because if they revealed this live to me, I'd probably freak out on stream and not be able to process it properly, because the amount of changes that are going to heavily impact the game in this specific card balance is astronomical. Mobius being changed from ongoing to on reveal affects a lot of decks right off the bat, including your beloved Spectrum. But now the on reveal effect on him, he can be stopped. He can be restricted. And it's very, very common to see that pop out on turn 4 and turn 5 with Cosmo and see that get blocked. It's a good change that Mobius kind of needs to level him out, but I didn't think he was that chaotic. I think he was impactful, but not like meta breaking where this dramatic of a change was needed. Do you think so, Math? Or like
honestly, like I think we're in the minority, but I agree with you. I think Mobius was in a great position. I think maybe like a 2-2 would have been probably what I would have done. I think like the idea behind Mobius now is more to play it like as I call it offensive Mobius when you play it on turn 5, rather than playing like defensively on turn 2 or 3. So there's obviously that part of Mobius, and I think that part of Mobius hasn't been very researched that much since it released. Since Mobius released, but honestly I wasn't expecting it. Maybe I'm a fool, but I think it makes sense. Also, maybe it restricted too much the design space of cards. I'm not sure. Glazer?
I called this exact change, like exactly before it was announced. I called it. You can find it in our Magic Secret place, and you can find it in the Marvel Snap Zone Discord. I was like, Mobius is going to go to an on-reveal. And everyone was like, no, it's not. What do you... And I was like, Mobius is going to an on-reveal. I just knew it. I don't know why. I don't think it's healthy, is my answer. I think there needs to be something to restrict I play the most cards as the best thing to do in the game. And I don't think Sandman is it. Or at least Sandman as a 5/4 as it's going to be. I don't think that's it. I think that like the on reveal restricts Sarah, I guess, but if it's only restricting Sarah, it's not going to see play. Because now it's not doing what I need it to against Iceman, and now it's not stopping that early Abomination, and now it's not shutting down Death. If I can get Death out on 5, and I can almost always get Death out on 5. And now it's not stopping Dream Dimension. Or I can't stop Dream Dimension and that other thing I needed to stop. And now it's not stopping me from spamming my Beast cards on 5. And like, if it's not doing all those things, then it's not really doing anything I want it to. Right? Like, it's now a one-trick pony, and that trick just ain't that good. So I think, like, Mobius went from, like, insanely meta and underplayed, not overplayed, despite it being in so many decks, to nearly dead, and I'm worried about where this is going to leave us.
I think that's completely fair.
With Loki.
Yeah.
I did not predict the wave change. The wave change, I think, is...
oh my god.
So wave is now a 3/5 that makes the max cost 4 and doesn't care about minimum cost.
Yeah.
Which means it has almost no relationship with Mobius.
Yeah. And I know obviously that's intentional. You know, they're trying to prevent that specific pairing, so they're going to nerf that specific pairing rather than do 1 by 1. I would have loved to have seen this wave change, but leave Mobius and then maybe add Mobius piece by piece, work on a power play, like try and figure it out progressively and see what the impact is. But doing both at the same time, I agree with you. I think it's a little aggressive for that specific duo and combo. But in regards to what wave just in general is now, with all cards having a maximum of 4 until the next turn, a lot of us have been calling for the return of Death Wave. And we may have just gotten it.
It's a ramp card now, right? Like, almost no matter what, it's like, it's not a restriction, it's a ramp.
Yeah. Agreed.
Well, what
Good.
I'm thinking of very quickly on top of my mind is once again, we're going back to that full move list. Recently, we've had like a full move list that used Wave to play like Heimdall on 6, right? But now maybe we could play like Heimdall and the 2 cost, something like that. Quickly, I'm thinking maybe we could play Wave or we could play full move back. What are your early thoughts? What decks? So Death Wave, we have, I'm thinking full move Glazer.
Shadow King stuff, you do evolutionary, and then you can do Hulk or Alioth with Shadow King. Is like my immediate, just like if I can drop like a 16 power Hulk and then Shadow King off all your gain power, that's going to be really strong.
Yeah, Shadow King gets all the love again.
Yeah, it's Shadow King buff.
I think the unsung synergy that will take a little bit of time for it to be really dominant, and only because we've seen it talked about a lot recently this past weekend. The fact that she's also gaining 2 power makes Wave Professor X an actual threat versus a mild threat.
We've also got the return, especially next week with Ms. Marvel, of Galactiboy. Because now you're going to have priority, and that 10 power Galactus is going to go off.
Mm-hmm. That's going to hurt.
Yeah, you go Ms. Marvel on 3, Wave on 4, Galactus on 5, Alioth on 6. Smile.
Smile and cry, depending on which side of the board you're on.
Right. And hope your opponent muted you.
Yeah, but I do like what they to skip around a bit. I do like what they did to Alioth this week also with that. Just kind of fixing the one little weird condition with the goblins and just basically saying, hey, you can play your goblins now and they won't die, on the opposite side of the battlefield that Alioth then played on. Like, yeah, that's just it's a little tiny change to Alioth to just make Alioth that much more annoying and better and stronger and weirder. And it was a micro change, but they got to make those little ones here and there.
It's more than a micro change if people buy Ravonna. Go ahead, Math.
Well, I was gonna, before going to Ravonna, I was gonna mention Negasonic, because to me, isn't Negasonic like a tiny Alioth now if you have initiative?
You get the unreveal.
So you do get the unreveal. That's the difference. It's still pretty good.
Oh yeah,
it's still
great.
pretty good.
Oh yeah.
So Storm Negasonic.
Mm-hmm.
We just said Surfer is going to be great, right? Like Storm Negasonic, have fun.
Yeah. Surfer lockdown coming back again.
I mean, you go Storm Negasonic, Sarah, and then you do that thing I said with Werewolf, right?
Yeah. I think there are some synergies that do leave though. For example, I was doing like a hybrid destroy variation that was also featuring Dokken, where you could play down Negasonic to temporarily, block the lane off on turn 4, but then also follow it up if you need to with the shard and then double up your Dokken in the same process. But yes, you're basically moving the power from Negasonic over to your Dokken, more or less. But the fact that it's now specifically after an enemy card is played here, destroy it, that's a whole nother being, because she survives, and that's the biggest win out of that. In my opinion, that's probably the biggest win in the entire OTA is Negasonic Teenage Warhead, and people won't know it until they actually play it.
Oh, I'm ready. You ready for Jean Grey meta?
Jean Grey meta with Negasonic. That's going to be crazy.
Jean Grey, and then I can Cosmo, and that means you're going to just try and play something big there, right?
Yep.
And that means I just drop a Negasonic and say bye.
Wow.
Jean Grey is
a lot of people have been... Go ahead.
No, I mean, you said Jean Grey, and that's going to trigger me off in the good ways, because Jean Grey is probably the most slept-on important meta card right now in Marvel Snap, in my opinion. It handles so many of the currently meta decks and controls them so well, which want to play wide. And there are so many different ways that you can mess with that. And exactly to what you said, Pulse, because if you play Negasonic now, you can Cosmo and not feel bad. Like Jean Grey Surfer is going to come back as a real thing because of Negasonic.
Jean Grey, Negasonic, Cosmo, Surfer.
It's in my video. I mean, just it's and you can keep playing there is the thing that changes more than anything to me. Like, it's not that it doesn't destroy itself, it doesn't have the 5. It's that, like, you can just play more cards there. because it was always so frustrating. You would drop her and be like, unless this is Venom, like I better, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was just sad, and now it's great. We're gonna ignore Ant-Man. Let's talk about, like, Ant-Man's not changed. If you put Ant-Man into the space throne, like, you're probably losing that location, friends. Sorry.
Facts.
And like, sorry, I want to talk for a while about Ravonna. Does anyone have any Sandman thoughts? Because I have one that matters.
Congratulations. All right, moving on.
Oh, mine is if Sandman gets good, just remember Patriot always beats Sandman.
Facts.
Then we just have that meta.
Ravonna.
Who had her as the second best card of last month? A month out. She's not as good as Loki, but I'd take her over the others.
Nope.
I think I had Ravonna as one of my. I thought cost reduction was always good, but damn, was I wrong? But now I'm hoping she's good now. I think her design is pretty cool as a 2/1 instead of a 3/3. Obviously, it allows more stuff, but we probably need more cards in the game. Still, I don't think she's still like. Have you guys thought of any new cards that you can play on 3 now, or anything crazy that we can do now with Ravonna being a 2 cost?
I mean, you can play Hobgoblin and Black Widow together on turn 3. That seems like it's probably decent. You can drop Darkhawk, which
That's a good point.
Probably don't want to do. But like, so it's not that you can play her on 3, it's the silly shit you can do on turn 5 and 6 now.
Yeah.
Where like you can just go, like you can consistently, you have multiple ways to make sure Darkhawk and Mystique get out. You can play Darkhawk, Mystique, and Iron Man, I believe, with her and Sarah. Or if you get her, Sarah, and Zabu, and now Darkhawk costs 1, and Mystique costs 1, Iron Man costs 3.
Like, I still don't believe in it.
It's just not fair. But
it seems mean.
I think because a lot of us were calling for the 2 cost specifically, right? We thought that she would be important at 2 cost, maybe feature her as like another out condition for the negative decks to try to make something happen there, because this is just another way to ramp that out early. And
that's a good point.
I think the reason that they made her 2/1 and not leaving her at 3 power was specifically with that in mind, where if you get it out in another mechanic, whether it be Zabu or Psylocke or whatever, sure, go ahead with your Ravonna, and now it's a 1/2, so there's benefit if it did get flipped. I think that that's what they're trying to put into mind more so than some of the other Darkhawk furthering synergies, because I think that you actually end up like long term, and this is one of the things that we're going to obviously have to test with Ravonna, is it actually effective or necessary to play Sarah down on turn 5 and then go crazy on turn 6? Is it even worth it to do so?
No, but you can drop Ravonna, right? Like, and just play her in a Black Bolt Stature deck, right? And then now you've got an extra Zabu for your Darkhawk for that last turn of the game. So now your last turn is Stature, Darkhawk, and Shadow King.
But like, if you had it like as a 2/2, that would be the exact same stat line of Zabu.
Yep.
And like, in my opinion, that would still be worse than Zabu. I think like Zabu is just better. Like, and that's considering the fact that Ravonna has 1 less power. So I think like it's a tough sell. Now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more, Zabu is a 2/2. I think is just much more consistent, much better, and plus 4 cost. There's much more 4 cost cards you want to reduce, because having a 4 cost to 3 means you can play 2 of them on turn 6, which is very, very good. But yeah, maybe you play both of them and you play Ravonna as like a diet Zabu. But I don't know. We'll have to see.
I will bet anything that Ravonna is meta. Like anything. I'm convinced by this card. I played it for the week it was available, and I was clearing left and right with it. It's so easy to play. Like, a 4 cost Hobgoblin is silly.
Oh, and Mobius gone. I forgot about that.
Yeah, there's no Mobius. There's nothing stopping this card. It's just, like, so, I mean, I go turn 2 Ravonna, turn 3 Widow and stupid Green Goblin. Then I go turn 4 Hobgoblin. And just like, all right, good luck. Like, what are you doing at that point? You've got negative 12 on your side of the board, and I'm about to start dropping rocks and Darkhawks and stuff, and I've already stopped one of your draws. Like, it's very good. And, like, you can play it with various Silver Samurai stuff, because if you Ghost Rider back a Goblin, it's not bad. It's very nice. It's very nice, yeah. And Silver Samurai beats the crap out of Shuri Red Skull if that deck still exists.
It always
definitely
will.
A fun card.
Yeah, agreed. It's a fun card.
I am convinced. All right, let's get to our actual topic of today. 1 hour into the episode, we are doing 10 things we wish the community knew. Number 10, you can figure out how to replace Jeff. We promise. Your deck is usually going to be worse if you don't have Jeff. That's why he was in there in the first place. So you need to ask yourself the following 3 questions. Is he just a good stuff card? And then replace him with something else that's good. Is he a move card? Then replace him with Nightcrawler or another move card. Or is he there for Professor X? And then be a little bit sad. Guess?
It's probably one of, at least, it's kind of rescinded a bit. Thankfully, the, what do we replace Jeff with, question, but it is probably one of the most regular questions in the game just because of how flexible and important as a plug-and-play card he is. And right now, in a very heavy, ongoing Professor X moment in the game, he's a very relevant card. So if you're trying to get around your Professor X, you're going to be looking at, like, Claw and Blue Marvel and those weird sideways ramp ups, and that's about it to try to replace him. And then you're building a whole nother deck, most likely. Look, he's a great card, but you hit the 3 biggest questions. Is he here for stats? Is he here to move? Or is he here to specifically combat Professor X or be a part of Professor X for your own deck? He's a great card. Definitely worth your 6,000 tokens. I recommend it all the time. But if you don't have it, it's okay. Just look at the whole deck.
Yeah, I think I agree 100% with all what you guys have been saying. Definitely is one of the best card in the game right now. But it's another card that is necessary in the game. It's kind of like the Shang-Chi thing where we need the card in the game because of like Professor X exactly and other stuff like that. But yeah, it kind of feels bad when you don't have Jeff. But like Glazer said, you can still do some stuff to still win a lot of the games unless it's there for Professor X because there's no replacement. Maybe they could create a new card that could be another replacement. Yeah.
So, but even more than that, I think you become a better deck builder by not asking how to replace Jeff every time and instead asking yourself the question, how do I want to replace this card? Like, because this isn't like I'm trying to replace, I don't know, some real core card to a lot of decks. Jeff is almost never a very core card. Like, if you didn't have Elsa, there were certain decks you could build that just weren't going to compete with the Elsa versions. If you don't have Jeff, you can probably figure it out. Like, just take the time to figure it out instead of constantly asking.
Yeah, I think there are very few decks that focus on needing to have Jeff in them. That's the most important thing to get out of that. You don't need to have Jeff. But if you have the option, probably going to want to put him in.
Yeah, in most decks.
Yeah.
Number 9. And I'll read through the thing, and then we will talk about it. Ranks don't tell you what they think they do. Everyone assumes that the higher your rank is, the better you are. But a high rank tells you the following 3 things. Maybe it tells you more things, but the following 3 things I thought of. 1, the player had a lot of time. The first day that rank came out, I started at like 3,200 or something, and I grinded up to like 29, 28, and I came back and I was 4,000. I went to work. I came home. I played with my kid. I went on the game. I was like 4,000, like 600 or something. I was like, well, screw that. That's not a system I can engage with. It tells you the player is motivated because, like, even if I was off I'm probably not going to spend my time grinding. And 3, it does tell you that that player is every good. But if a player is in high rank, it could tell you any of those 3 things. It could be a lack of time, motivation, or goodness. Matt?
Yeah, I think I'm going to add a fourth one. I would say that it means he doesn't really play Conquest. Because I usually I reach Infinite and I go play Conquest. I love Conquest so much more. And I suggest everyone to go play Conquest. I think there's a lot more thinking in Conquest. I think it's much more fun, much more intense. And yeah, I think my rank suffers a lot from that. And a lot of other players do play Conquest and are going to have a lower rank than others. So just keep that in mind. Also, if you see someone with it doesn't mean you're better if you have like I don't know 1K above someone else. Yes.
As a player who, depending on time commitment and depending on meta of the moment, does or does not hit Infinite every single season. As a player who came in late into the game and not a beta whale, and came on in a couple months into the game comparatively, as someone who sometimes has 5 minutes and sometimes sits on stream for 9 hours playing it nonstop, depending on the day, your rank means, to be blatantly honest, absolute crap. If you're having fun and you're having a good time, no matter what you're doing in the game, if you're a collector, if you're a variant enthusiast, if you're an artist, if you're a battler, if you're a competitive card player, everybody's going to play the game for different reasons. But having a full collection doesn't make you a better player. So why should your rank number make you a better player? It just shows that you have more time to perfect this one specific part of the game and this one specific skill. That's it.
So at one point, a couple months ago, I call Lambie the best player in the game fairly constantly. You know why? Because he is. Like, I mean, by every like metric we have, it's possible there's someone better, right? But like, if there is, like, the most provable best player in the game is Lambie. So I call him that all the time. I cover basically every deck he makes because it's silly not to cover the best player in the game, like he's the best player in the game to me. So I got this big long comment that said, "I'm sick of you and everyone else calling Lambie the best player in the game. His rank is in the 200s, and people like Cam and Revis are in like the 50s or the 20s. They're better than Lambie, and everyone knows it." And I was like, sigh. So this month, Lambie decided to grind rank, and he's currently, or at least last I checked a few hours ago, sitting at number 5 on the overall leaderboard, and he's been grinding for like 4 days because he's the best player in the game. However, if you've watched his streams versus his Conquest streams, I swear to you, I cannot prove this, and I bet you he'd deny it. He's having so much less fun because he doesn't enjoy it as much as Conquest. He's just proving a damn point. And like, I think all of that is educational to what the rank system is. Like, A, stop judging people for it. B, if you really care and have the time, like Lambie does this for a living, and like, but not only does this for a living, like grinds and is the most competitive person, right? So like, when he wants to, he can ultimately gain rank. But finally, lastly, it's not where his heart is. And like, if you're not doing it for a living, then do what you enjoy.
Yeah, Lambie, he has not only has a lot of time, and he's also very motivated and very good at the game. So if he wants, he's gonna reach the top rank. I'm just sick of people just chasing for that screenshot and then they just stop playing rank. They play something else, the number 1 or number 10 or screenshot.
I mean, just play Conquest. It's so much better of a game mode.
It's so fun.
I just want the card back. That's it. I don't care about the number.
All right. Top 10 things we missed the community. Number 8. Decks matter, but not as much as you think. Piloting is key. Everyone retreats a lot, and if you know the meta, you won't have to stick around to just see. Guess?
Yeah, I preach this nonstop in tournaments as well, because we get that comment all the time of what deck should I bring in, or what deck is going to be the important deck, or what's the top performing deck on blank, and I'm going to bring that deck in. That means nothing. If you've played 4,000 games of your zoo deck, bring that zoo deck in, because chances are you know that deck better than someone else has this other random important meta relevant deck that they're just learning, but because it's been overall performing well, they're going to try to bring it into a tournament. Pilot is 100% the case on this, 1000%. It has nothing to do with the deck. It has everything to do with the pilot. Decks can make a pilot better, but you have to have a good pilot to pilot an average deck.
Yeah, I think I agree 100%. And for the retreating part, retreating, and if you know the meta, you don't have to just see. I think like you could play a 40% win rate deck if you always literally always retreat when you don't have your things and you know he's going to beat you. Even with a 40% win rate deck, you're not going to have a decreasing cube count. If you retreat really very, very well, you're going to lose 1 cube, and every time you win, you're going to win like 4 or 8. It all depends on retreating and snapping. Yes?
Yeah, to feed right into that, that right there is the perfect description of Hela. Hela in ranked mode is the perfect proof of that. If you know your win condition and you see your win condition, then you continue in the game and you don't just see if you happen to build your deck a certain way. You know by turn 5 if you're playing Team Chavez in your deck, okay? If you know by turn 5 you don't have it, run. But chances are, if you do have it, that if you play it out all the way through and bet your big 8, you might win that one game and win 8 cubes, even though you just retreat 6 times for 1 cube each. So you're still in the plus. And if you look at normal Hela stats, it also reflects that as well. You can't just see. If you're learning, sure, because you're learning the hard way. But if you're an experienced player, don't just see unless if you're willing to say, I'm going to tank.
I mean, I doubt anyone here is like listening to this that doesn't know this, but okay, you don't know the meta. Start with the Marvel Snap Zone or whatever website you choose, tier list. Go to every week, KM, Alex Kochia, and Combat release their top 10 decks, and they're almost never exactly the same. But if you watch those 3 and keep an eye on the tier list, you know what the deck does. You're gonna hit like 2 decks that don't do something you know. Just know it. Spend the time, spend a little time on content. You're obviously spending time on content. We are well into an hour and a half on this podcast, right? Or I guess
it happens,
but close. So you obviously are spending time on content. Pick content you like from content creators you like and learn the meta. Next up.
Agreed.
Content creators aren't always right, but we also aren't trying to rip you off. First and foremost, thumbnails are bullshit. We all good? I don't know how to be clear on that. Almost every thumbnail is at least 60%, 70% bullshit.
And titles.
And titles, yeah. Thumbnails and titles are to get you in the door. We're not, no one's like, this is the greatest. No one I know of, anyway. Is like, this is the greatest deck ever. Once the video starts, we're like, hey, this deck's pretty good. Here's what I think about it. Yes? And you might not like that, but you know who you can blame, not us? YouTube's algorithm. Because that thumbnail gets shown to literally tens of thousands of more people, and sorry, right? I don't know what to tell you. YouTube sucks sometimes. Don't believe the thumbnail. Look at what the deck is, and if you're interested in the deck, click. Further, we're all in the creator program. We get 2,000 gold a month. I'm going to tell you right now, 2,000 gold a month is not enough for me to lie to you when I think Second Dinner does shit that's stupid. Cool?
Fair.
No one's morals are 2,000 gold a month. Are you kidding? And finally, we're wrong a lot. All of us are wrong a lot. And examples are Darkhawk, which most people thought was mid, Ghost, Loki, and Legion. And we're right a lot too, because Nico, Elsa, Lady Deathstrike, High Evolutionary. Because we create content, what that really means is we probably spend more time thinking about the game than most people. And that doesn't automatically make us right or wrong or shills or perfect or anything else. It just makes us humans who spend a lot of time on a hobby that we care about. But chill, please.
Yeah, I've talked about this at length, both politely and aggressively. We as creators, we have this false expectation by a community that we still will never know to always be right. And some creators take that as pressure and it motivates them and it pushes them forward. And other creators take it personal and then crumble under the understanding of this is what I was just trying to say. And they're not getting their point across. The most successful creator, and this goes for any game, not even just Marvel Snap. This goes for any game, any person who creates video game content. We're always trying to give entertainment and information in some kind of weird mixture balance. And that's an incredibly difficult thing to do. But the most successful creators are pure and honest in expressing their opinions and giving you reasons to create a conversation. They don't whine. The most successful creators don't whine. They have fact and they back themselves up. So if they're going to say that, hey, this is why I think Ghost is going to be the best card in the game, they gave you fact. If you go watch the old videos prior to Ghost, and it's a perfect example of how often we were wrong, from a competitive standpoint, we're like, well, this happens and this happens and this is how we're going to play it and boom, 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 boom. And then it came out and all of us got backhanded by Second Dinner saying, no, it's just a bad card. Stop it. Stop trying to play Ghost. It's not going to happen. Stop. It's going to happen every now and then that we're going to be wrong because we're still humans. But as creators, we have to also monetize. And that's the reality of it, is we're trying to get clicks. We're trying to not lie to you, but we're trying to, flag you into our parking garage out of the 7 that are on the street that you're driving past. That's all.
I think we're gaining advantage by like crazy thumbnails and crazy titles, but guys, also like it's good for the viewers as well. Like the community is getting bigger. We're bringing more people into the game. Like I think if you're looking at that in that angle through that lens, I think it's a easier pill to swallow. It's a win-win. But yes, just keep a grain of look at it take a grain of salt when you're looking at titles and thumbnails. Because yes, everyone there's a new card that's going to come out. You don't want to make it like crazy clickbait, but you still have to bring people in the video. For example, when Ravonna released, Ravonna sucked.
I loved Ravonna.
Yeah, but like if you want, we still want to do a deck because some people are going to want to play the Ravonna because they got Ravonna and they don't have other cards. So we're going to create a deck. We're going to create a video. But then people are going to get mad because that deck won't be as powerful. But keep in mind also, I guess that's a perfect segue. Keep in mind that not all decks are supposed to be the best deck. Some decks are fine being a B tier, because a B tier for someone that just achieved pull 3, if that's the deck he can make, that's going to be a very good deck for his rank.
Yep.
Right. So keep that in mind, guys.
I mean, also one more thing, like as far as employers go, Guest, Big Math, and I all have different employers. Stop trying to pit us all against each other. We're not trying to grow a site. We're trying to grow a community.
Yep.
Like we're friends behind the scenes. I promise. No, like I mean, I guess some people aren't, right? Like some people are quote unquote controversial, but like 99% of us are just kind of cool with each other.
Yeah.
Like we're trying to build a game and community, not like a website or just our own brand.
Yeah.
So chill. We're good with each other.
We are not, the plastics. That's not what we're trying to do here. And none of us have really ever tried to make that an intentional agenda either. So I agree with you on that.
And I guess I can say that now. Like, this community is actually one of the best community behind the scenes. Like, I know, like through viewers and stuff, but through content creators, like I haven't heard anyone or seen anyone that I didn't appreciate. I think everyone has been super nice. Obviously, there's a little bit of a cloud culture, but that goes into every content creator community. But I think like everyone has been helping each other out. Yeah, I just wanted to say that to you guys because you guys may not know what happens behind the scene, but honestly, everyone is super, super chill. Yeah, are you guys feeling the same thing?
Yeah. So I want to tell you my
100%.
single biggest complaint about content creation in the community right now is that we all have our own separate Discords. I hate that. Like that every site and everything has its own Discord. It is the only thing I don't like about this. Like having like a one playground where we could all chat, which is unfortunately Twitter. Ugh.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't it be like, and it's not going to happen. I'm not pretending it's going to happen, but like just having a nice big Discord would be so nice.
Yeah. I mean, we try to sort of have that with the creators, with the creator group, because we have our channels that we communicate all within. And it's been a learning curve for all of us, learning how to master threads and discussion groups so we can keep our thoughts organized. But that's normal. Because we're all busy people. We try to keep it honed into a very specific place. So when it comes to creators, look, guys, we're doing our best because we're also trying to be successful creators simultaneously. How far different creators wish to take that is upon each creator. But we all have the same common goal, which is a passion for the game that we want to share with other people. And for some people, that also means being able to either have some extra change in their pocket because of it or further.
All right. Next up. So I get asked 7,000 times a week, I'm assuming we all do, what the schedule is. And just remember, I POSO or Pono. You good? Patch, OTA, and then whatever you prefer, skip or nothing, and then OTA. So after that would be patch, right? Next would be patch, and that repeats 13 times a year. So this week we had a patch, which means next week will be an OTA. Cool?
Cool.
Yeah. They've yet to miss a week. So please try and remember. It will also make your enjoyment of the game go up. It lets you be excited for things in advance.
Should we be that annoying person to give this pattern and then tell them, oh, but minus the 3 weeks for the holiday break?
Are we sure?
It happened last year. It was 2 or 3 weeks that they had the break, but this was also pre-OTAs, so we don't know yet exactly what it's going to be.
I think OTA just started. I think they did a 1 or 2 OTA before they.
So they had their whatchamacallit break, their summer break, and they kept it going.
Did they? I don't even remember.
Yeah,
it's
there
all
were no
a blur.
skips. Since they started it, there have been no skips. All right. Number 5. Nice and simple. Buy Series 4 cards with tokens when you can, and have a plan on how you use your Spotlight caches and tokens. We'll go to the next slide and we can talk about all this at once, because number 4 is the 4 Spotlight rule. Do not open Spotlight caches unless you're prepared to do 4, or will not be freaking out if you don't get the card you want. If you get what you want... Ooh, I just lost my voice for a second. Excuse me. If you get what you want, please stop. Don't just be like, ooh, let's see what else I get. If you got what you wanted, stop. And when you don't do this, you can blame a lot on the Spotlight cache system. They literally just nerfed and or buffed every single card in September. That isn't the system's fault. That you didn't wait till you had 4, or buy your Series 4 card with 4,000 tokens, and now you can't get your Series 5 card and you don't have 6,000 tokens. That's not the system's fault. You've got to engage with the system intelligently. And I think some creators go too far and you're being stupid. I don't think you're being stupid. I think you're not engaging with the system in a way that's necessary. If you go to the final bosses area in a video game without level grinding, without beating any other bosses, you're probably going to get killed. That's what's happening at Marvel Snap.
Yeah, and guys, if you guys are looking for good guides or planner I'm usually look at Educated Collins. I think he's the best one at doing I think he does a score from our S to F for the different Spotlight weeks. So and plus he goes if you already have that card, what is the value of the bundle? If you guys don't want to think too much, or at least want to have a discussion, Educated Collins usually is the one I go to. Do you guys have any other content creators that do?
Yeah, me.
Let's go.
I watch Collins too. Watch everything Collins does. That man is insanely charming.
Yeah,
he was on this spot last week.
But just simultaneously, for the purposes of the video, if we can go back 3 slides, I think it's just as important to remember that look, we do the best that we can, people. Okay, this is all of us are saying the exact same thing. We all agree, but sometimes we're not always right. Also, so just remember that. Okay, just feed into that one fact. But for the most part, when it comes to your efficiencies on your Spotlights, yes, if you're not prepared to not get the card, then don't go into it with the wrong amount of money. You wouldn't go out to eat or wouldn't go out to drink with enough money on you. If you're going to Applebee's, you got to have $15 in your pocket, and then you'll be able to cover your entire evening. But if you're going out to going into Soho, into a fancy Japanese restaurant, you better have enough on you. So for the most part, you got to think you're going to Soho. You're not going to Applebee's every week. You can't go in with that mentality. Have all of the money in your pocket. Have all the spotlights if you're going to spend your spotlights. And who knows, you might get a deal. You might get a, hey, congratulations. Thanks for coming on down here. Here, we'll give it to you on your first spotlight. Woo-hoo. But other weeks, it does hurt, and it does happen. You're going to open 4, and you're going to cry.
It happened 3 times in a row for me.
I'm sorry.
So, yeah, it's okay.
I finally got 1-in-1 with Nico, but I wanted the 2 variants, so I still opened 4.
I did the same.
It's like I needed that kitty in Phoenix.
Yeah.
I had one other thought. Hey, this should have been written here, but don't open on Tuesday if you can avoid it. Right?
Yes.
Like if you're not sure the card is good and your resources are limited, I am wailed out at this point in the game. I wasn't until a few months ago. I finally monetized, like, tax write-off, baby. I'm buying everything. So, like, that's probably not you, dear viewer. Wait till Friday to see if the card is good, right? Like, it's not going to take 4 days, but, like, wait till Friday. We'll know. We'll have a solid idea of whether the card is worth grabbing by Friday. You get no benefit from having it on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Unless it's the most broken card and you need to push infinite.
But we might be wrong.
Probably fine by Friday. Yeah.
This is true. This is true.
All right. Progression tips. Green border everything. If you're early Series 3, A, credits are king. I guess B, credits are king, because that's how I lettered it. Early Series 3 is the worst, but you know that last slide where it's like, you have to plan super carefully? And not as much if you're early Series 3. You can just kind of open as you get them for like the first quarter to half of Series 3. You're very likely missing and getting nothing. You're going to get a card you don't own from almost every cache.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I mean, if you're just coming into the Marvel Snap community now, and you've been playing for, let's say, a month or so, and you're finally hitting, collection level 500, 600, 1,000, etc. Look, this is like the peak moment for you to do 2 things. Not feel bad about using your resources to be able to open more spotlight caches and reserves. That's completely fine. And the other thing is really figure out how to deck build. Because this is that's the same exact moment where, oh, you know what? Maybe I'm going to start listening to some content, and here's a podcast I like, and who the hell is this Pulse guy? And let's see what deck he puts up every single freaking day. And I don't have 6 of the cards in this deck. Okay, how do I redo it? Like, it focuses you into really getting creative and looking at your cards and really practicing with certain variations on archetypes. Series 3 is one of the best parts of this game, in my opinion, was going through the Series 3 grind. But if you want to get through it, green border, every variant, every single card you get, unless if it's inked and you want to leave it at that. That's like the only like asterisk condition, in my opinion. But yeah, because it'll move you faster up the collection track. Green border, everything.
So I've got an early Series 3 promise for everybody. If you join, I don't have my own Discord. I hang out in the Marvel Snap Zone Discord. There's a little corner called Podcast Hang with the Hosts. If you are Series 3 and you send me your collection, it'll take a couple days because I have a job and a kid and stuff. But like, it'll take a couple days, but I'll freaking deck build with you. I'll sit there and talk you through what you can build, what you can't build, what cards to target. I will do that for like every person individually. I will find time. It's just...
So Glazer doesn't sleep.
Nope. I really
always working.
Don't. Roy makes fun of me. He's like, how do you... I'm also a union VP. I have no free time in my life. But like, it's just, if someone needs help, I try and help them. So like, if you're in that position and you need help, then hop on the Discord, or like, honestly, hop on like any of the big Discords and hit @PulseGlazer, and you're probably just going to find me any damn way. And like, I'll just be like, all right, send me the stuff and give me like a day or 2, and then I'll talk you through what I think you can build and what I think you need to look for. Like, it's just, like, if you need the help is there, and it's me.
Ta-da!
All right. Number 2, the meta moves fast. If you don't like where the meta is, the longest it usually lasts is a month and a half. And it's usually less than a month and a half. If you don't like the very top deck, I'm going to also add, unless you are like top of ladder, you're probably not actually going to play it all that much. Like, try marking down how often you actually play it. Like, unless you're like aiming for rank 1 on the post-infinite ladder, you're going to see Loki, but you're not going to only see Loki, I promise. They're going to buff and nerf everything in the game over time, and they aren't aiming for a perfectly balanced game where every card is good. Guess?
Yeah, I think the big one there is the perfectly balanced game piece, because everybody calls for nerfs when a card is good at launch, and then everybody says, okay, this deck is popular, so this deck needs to be nerfed, which means these 6 cards need to be nerfed, and this deck is incredibly old and not relevant anymore, so oh my god, it has to get... Look, Second Dinner's made it very clear. There are supposed to be cards that are better than others. That's intentional, because you need to have strong key cards and then supplemental cards to your choice. So I think for people to get into a meta and say, well, the game is just not fun right now, and then they decide to give up on the game, that's pulling the trigger a little too fast.
I think for card games are the best for taking a break and coming back. If you really don't like the meta, don't just quit the game for good. Just wait a little bit, play something else, do something else if you want. You're going to come back. There's going to be four new cards. It's like an expansion. That's fine, guys. You're allowed to leave a game for a little while and come back. You're allowed to do so. And the game is going to get, like, obviously it's going to be ups and downs, right? So if you guys really don't like the down, just take a break.
I mean, also, every week, somewhere between 4 and 8 cards are going to get buffed and nerfed. Except for that one skip week, excuse me. But 4 to 8 cards are going to get buffed and nerfed, and 1 card is going to get added to the game. So, like, there's always something to do. You don't have to keep playing if you don't want to, obviously, right? But, like, I haven't played Discard since frickin' months and months, and they buffed Hellcow, and I was like, maybe it's time to play some Dracula Discard. So I played Dracula Discard for 4 days, and it was like I was playing a different game with different patterns, right? Like, if you just, like, they're going to change things, and then just be like, I'm going to figure out what to do with that thing. Everyone, including Math on this podcast, has been like, Ravonna sucked. For 1 week, I had like a 70% win rate with Ravonna. Like, it's just, like, things are bad, except that, like, your pocket of the meta, where you play it, how you play it, like, how long it's good, how long it's relevant, are all super variable. For, like, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, Hela Tribunal was, like, the best deck. Like, it's just, the meta's gonna be weird in Marvel Snap. It's just, like, I think the real thing that, like, if you are a top level ladder player, you're too obsessed to quit, right? Like, it requires too many hours in the first place. But if you really like steady games and solving the puzzle once and then having it stay solved, Marvel Snap's going to be a challenge for you. Because there's going to be a new puzzle in 4 days. Like, we thought when that OTA, like, we talked about that OTA at the beginning. When that OTA came out, we're like, meta's changed. It'll settle for a while. And then they were like, got him. Here, let's change Mobius and Wave now completely. Like,
I still can't believe that. That's crazy.
They're just like, they're just throwing grenades and like, go have fun, run.
I could say that like, I'm very excited to play Marvel Snap, and one of the most, like, in the last month or so, I think these changes are gonna really increase my fun level in Marvel Snap for sure. I'm so excited to try so many stuff. I think this, like, Marvel Snap is at its best when there's big changes like that, in my opinion.
Not making me sad. I love when Marvel Snap changes. It's why I'm attracted to the game.
Mm-hmm.
All right, number 1. The season pass is always worth it. They aren't price gouging you, and this is where we're going to talk about that, like, they're buffing you for money thing and nerfing you for money. They aren't buffing or nerfing it as a trick. I can all but guarantee that, and we'll get to the reasons as we go. They're going to experiment with the season pass. It's not going to be the same card or the same type of card every month. And even if it's the worst card, and I think the worst season pass card of my time playing was Ghost Spider when it was a 2/3. Even that month, it's the best money you will ever spend on the game. Ghost Spider, as in terms of pure value proposition, is better than every other bundle you will ever buy. Sure, maybe OG Phoenix Force. I love Phoenix Force, so you're not going to get me to say bad things about it. But, like, Ghost Spider is, like, was, like, just as a 2 was, like, so hard to play.
Yep.
But like, it's just whatever. Like, even that, it's okay. So it's more progression value than anything else in the game. It's like, if you buy the season pass, you get like 4 variants that you wouldn't otherwise get. Sorry, you get like 3 exclusive variants for the season pass, and then you also get like 2 or 3 mystery variants on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if you count those as 700 gold each, you get an extra 900 gold, except that now you also get weekend missions, so you get like an extra 600 gold on top of that. Like, are you kidding with the value they give you for this thing? It's through the roof.
Yeah.
And it's one Series 5 card that you never have to worry about randomly opening.
Yeah, I think you should like never buy. Like, if you are going to buy something, you don't have to buy. Okay, guys, if you want to stay free to play, stay free to play. I have no issue with that. But if you are going to buy something, I think you can never justify buying anything before the season pass. I don't think I've seen any bundle that was better than the season pass as a value. I'm not the guy that did all the math, but like,
But
the
you're
season
big math.
pass is all. Yeah, well, can I give like a little Easter egg
You're
on
a
that?
phony. You're a giant
the math
phony.
The math in Big Math is actually my name is Matthew, so that's where it comes from.
That's
But no one
amazing.
knows, so I just ran with it since. But I still study mathematics, so it still makes sense. But the original reason of the name comes
That's
from
amazing.
Matthew.
Oh, Nate.
Matthew. All right. So, okay. In December they released Silver Surfer. In January they released Zabu. By mid-February, Zabu is nerfed. After Zabu, we have, I want to say, Nimrod, then MODOK, one some order or the other. We go Nimrod, MODOK, Nebula, Hitmonkey, Dakin, Phoenix Force, and Ghost Spider. So, did they just forget that they were price gouging us for like 7 straight months? Like, did they forget that they were supposed to be releasing OP cards? Because Glenn has been in charge for months and months now, right? Like, basically since they nerfed Zabu. Like, was he just like, oh yeah, I forgot I was supposed to price gouge them with these. My bad, here's Loki. No,
Yeah.
that's insane. That's insane. That is not how logic... Like, look, if the next 6 months of, like, season pass cards are all the most broken thing in the world and they have to nerf them all, we can talk. But you know how we know it's reasonable that they didn't think Loki was broken? Because we didn't think Loki was broken.
Yeah.
Should they have seen Elsa? Yes. But that is one example. You were providing me one example, and they waited 3 weeks before they nerfed it. 3 weeks! They didn't wait till the end of the season. They said, let people be mad. They gave us their money. This wasn't healthy. We made a mistake. There is no real good evidence that they're gouging us.
They're not. Just plain and simple. Like, people want to be upset. People want to look for an explanation for why they're upset, and they're going to look for something that isn't. I love this community. I love this community. I love this community. I love this community. Shut the hell up, people. It's not what's the goal of Second Dinner is. They are a business. Yes. They are trying to make money. Yes. But they're not trying to cheat it out of you. Stop it.
They overprice their bundles. But every bit of big math I've ever seen done, not Matthew, every bit of big math I've ever seen done suggests that if you buy that stupid season pass, you can have every card. Like, that's a really good deal. And, like, you have to be smart about it. Sorry that you can't just be like, wee, free roll. And, like, oh my god, my least favorite thing, and I'm going to get yelled at about this in the comments, is free to play players telling me how I should and shouldn't spend my money. It's like, I'm subsidizing your hobby, homie. Can you please? Can you please let me spend my money that I work for the way I would choose to?
Right. And I'm gonna jet in on that one too, because everybody who invests into the game differently. That goes for resources, that goes for time, that goes for passion, that goes for commitment. Everybody goes about it completely differently. You know, I started this game as just to like, okay, let me see if this is fun on stream, because Default Dan got me hooked on the game, and I was like, okay, this is fun, let me give it a shot. And then it evolved into something that literally 18 hours a day that I'm awake. I love my family, I love my wife, I love my kids. I'm constantly thinking about this game in some way, shape, or form, whether it's for work or whether it's for entertainment, for my own personal enjoyment, because that's something that I can't explain to my wife to this day, is how did I just sit on the computer for 10 hours editing articles and making thumbnails and doing all these things, and then I can actually sit down and play the game for 3 hours. And she's like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, well, it's just, it's a fun game and I actually like to play it. Okay. Is that okay? Let me do my thing. And that's what the community has to remember is everybody does their own thing. Some people spend money on it because they want to. You don't have to be super tech god. You could just be you.
I mean, I wish I could be. That man is handsome. All right.
Yeah, these are facts. These are facts.
So I think my advice boils down to treat people with a generosity of intent. Assume people are trying to do their best for themselves and don't tell them how to live their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, assume that Second Dinner is not trying to gouge you. And, like, if you see, like, the 3 times value bundle, right? But, like, you know what else? 3 times value bundle, there was no gun to anyone's head.
Right.
I didn't buy it.
Yeah.
I didn't. Like, it's... And I buy a lot of things. I was like, I don't like that. I think that's bad value. So I just didn't buy it. Mm-hmm. I'm not buying the zombie Squirrel Girl thing because, like, Squirrel Girl is wholesome and I don't want a zombie version. Like, done. Like, you're not required to buy cosmetics. You're not required to, like, spend anything. If you don't want to, don't.
I don't think, just to clarify what I mentioned earlier, I don't think at all that Second Dinner is trying to, like, scam us or they're trying to, gouge us out of our money. I'm just saying sometimes people can feel that way with season pass, and I think it's really important what you just talked about, Glazer. It's important to people to see the bigger picture, see the perspective. I think giving the example of the other season is a great thing to do, but I don't think we should discredit how people feel. I'm not saying you guys are doing that. I think just explaining to everyone is just a better way of fixing the problem than just like starting to fight each other. Yeah, but I agree. I don't think they're trying to scam us. So if you guys don't like the bundle, just don't buy it. If you guys think the season pass is not worth it, don't buy it. I personally think it's always worth it.
Yeah.
For the last 2 months, I think I've only bought the season pass and I've got every single card, and I didn't have any resources stacked. So yeah, I don't think you have to spend that much if you're only looking to get cards. Yeah, and also, spend how you want. It doesn't matter. My rule of thumb is $1 for every hour I play in a game, and I'm like 1,000 hours in this game, so I still have a lot of money I can put in this game for to reach $1,000, right?
Yeah.
So, are Loki and Elsa pay to win? I have my answer. I want you guys to answer.
Okay. So here's I've used this explanation before. So I'll recycle an old comment because it's very relevant to this. If you have a piece of entertainment that you enjoy and it has a monthly subscription, for example, Twitch Turbo, YouTube Premium, Netflix, Disney Plus, you have a monthly thing that you spend hours in, and there's something that'll give you for, $10 or less, $15 or less a month. We'll use Disney, Plus because that's associated. Disney Plus, $15 or less a month to enjoy that content to its fullest. If you really enjoy it, you'll spend the $15 a month. If you're passionate about the Disney products, you'll spend $15 a month for Disney Plus to watch every single thing on demand at your will. If your gaming is your source of entertainment and you want to do it to its maximum potential, $10 a month to be able to do that is very justified. And for me, the threshold of pay to win is when you are spending with the specific intent of ramping your resources to keep up. We are not there because you are not ramping your resources. You're on par with probably more than half of the community who's got the season pass at this point. The season pass keeps you full. And because I agree with you, and the math is out there. You just need the season pass to stay completely full and completely relevant if you are at that point in Marvel Snap especially. So it's not pay to win. It's pay to accelerate but it's not pay to win. There's a big difference in Marvel Snap that way. The season pass is not pay to win.
Math?
Yeah, completely agree. I think you've said it perfectly. And but pay to win, to be pay to win is not the right term to describe the situation, just like you said. I think if it was I think pay to win is a spectrum, right? And I think we're pretty far from pay to win on the spectrum. Obviously, you could make like some argument, a little bit of a nudge in that direction. But if you're the best player, if Flamby starts a new account, in how much time do you guys think he's going to be stomping everyone and be at the top of the ladder? Like almost instantly, right? He's going to get Series 3, get one deck, boom, he's going to crush everyone. So I don't think it's pay to win. I think it's pay for more fun, I would say, or pay to try other decks. If you're, I'm really OCD. I love having every single card. So that's why I want every single card when they release, but you really don't have to.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh God.
No, I was going to say, I think of it, it's a hobby. You know, a lot of people can't translate digital hobbies to, physical hobbies. Like if somebody is a Lego collector, it's a very popular hobby to say the least. You buy all these crazy Lego sets, you spend $75 on them, $100, $300, depending on the size, whatever it may be. You build the Lego set, and if you're a collector, you're probably using, the Craggle and keeping it all together at all the times. And you know what? Then you put it on the shelf and then you never touch it again. But that $75 was worth your enjoyment. Going out to eat. You go out with your, beloved friend or your beloved loved one or a family member that you haven't seen in a long time in an environment that's not common. You go out to eat, you spend $100 for the two of you and you have a good time. Everybody has different ways that they choose to invest their money. And for some people, that's into their source of entertainment. And there's nothing wrong with doing that because most of it is only to accelerate, not to be competitive, especially when the top prize of, okay, you can go ahead and spend gold to get an infinity ticket to try to get that, mega ultimate prize, which is what?
Mm-hmm.
Literally just something shiny. That's it.
So I think what's always important to do is to define terms. So what do we mean by win? Like, do you mean hit infinite? Well, you don't need any specific card to hit infinite. Right? Like, okay, so let's say it's get an infinity border. Same, a little harder, but like same. Right? Yeah. Okay, so here's where it's pay to win. And I know of exactly one player in Marvel Snap this affects. If you want to compete at the very top of tournaments, right? Like the very top. We're talking like our Snap Fan Opens and our oh my god, I forgot what it's called. I forgot what the new
Conquerors.
one is called. Conquerors. Yeah, sure. Like all of them. Snap Battle Arena. Like all of these. You want to compete at the very top tournaments that all the top players are coming out to. You probably need the best cards. You probably need the season pass cards. You need at least access to them. Right? So like you can test against them. There's a difference. And the only person I've seen that effect literally in Marvel Snap that is that good that it consistently matters is the Human Spider. Like the Human Spider made it to the top of a bunch of tournaments, won Loki in a gift thing, and then kept making it to the top tournaments. Who?
I'm going to push back and say no, because Evazord exists.
Eva and plays Loki with
won it in a giveaway.
Elsa.
Who won it with also in a giveaway.
So that, but then also
he is
Elsa in a giveaway, right?
completely free to play.
Fair.
And but is one of the top players in the game.
So fine, these cards are get lucky and get some great cards from others to win. Fair, right? Like, like if like this is the same concept, right? Like the Human Spider lost to Eva in 2 straight tournaments in the top 4 because Eva had Elsa, which he apparently won. I don't know. Which he apparently won, and Human Spider did not yet win. He eventually was given it by, I want to say, Cozy. So like, I think that like at the very top of tournaments, unless you have other means of getting these cards, you are putting yourself at a severe disadvantage. And I don't know if you can win. But like, if that's you, you already knew that, right? Like, if that's you, like this whole thing has been like, I knew all of these things, right? Like, that's again, the top of the tournament scene is 200-ish people. If you're one of those 200-ish people, fine, then it's pay to win. But if it's not, then like you can probably win at a level that is every in-game achievement without money.
Agreed.
I don't know.
I don't know if it was free to play. That's cool. I like Ev a lot. I watch his streams and I never clicked.
Yeah, free to play.
Of course you defend the Brazilian.
It happens.
All right. Hopefully that was interesting. Oh, one more. Bonus. Something things we wish the community knew. Grass is your friend. Go make friends with your friend Grass.
Do it.
Here, snow is your friend up in Canada.
I mean, there's grass under there.
Your parrots are your friend. I'm in Brazil, so what? Okay, just go find grass. Grass exists.
Yeah, go find.
It's everywhere. Whatever.
So one of the nice things about Marvel Snap is, did you know you can play it and touch grass at the same time?
These are facts. And kill your 4G plan in the process.
Hey, well, so be it. Okay. Yep. Variant of the week as we get close to wrapping this episode up. Our variant of the week is Man Thing, and both of our two guests chose the wrong one. Big Math, which guest did you choose? Which Man Thing did you choose?
I took the Venomized, and I will not accept any slander on the Venomized Man Thing.
Thank you, Big Matt. Venomized is the correct answer. Because listen, I collect me my Dan Hips. I love me my Dan Hips. That giant tree with a mouth coming out of it, that Man Thing. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just the absolutely fantastic, better variant versus the small little furry slug that is the Dan Hip version.
I love the small little furry slug that is the Dan Hip version. Dan Hip version is my version. The other one is a nightmare. Like, if I played with that too much, I would close my eyes and see it. And I don't need that. I play too much Marvel Snap to be having nightmares about cards. I want to cuddle with Hip Man Thing. I do not know fear. I will not burn at the touch of that Man Thing.
Dan Hip's Man Thing looks like Lucas the Spider. And if you know who that is, you are definitely a parent in some way. And if not, you have something to go Google.
That is such a nightmare card. All right, you guys are horrifying. Remind me never to go anywhere dark with you. All right, final segment. Guest. Why and how can our viewers find you? Why should they? Where do they?
They should, because I came to this realization last week. I was talking with my wife about, what I do on a daily basis. And I was, a little frustrated. And then I came with the perfect analogy. I am the craft beer of Marvel Snap. Look, some people absolutely love the common Bud Light. It's popular. It's all over the place. And you know what? It'll get the job done. It'll get you where you want to go on your adventure. But those who are willing to get a little bit more artisanal, those who are looking to be a little bit more refined, a little bit more difficult to find all of the nuanced flavors in there, when you're really ready to challenge your palate, that's when you come over to my channel. It's Guest Gaming. You can come find me at It's Guest Gaming at twitch.tv/It's Guest Gaming. You can find me on Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it nowadays, at It's Guest Gaming. But you can also find me as the lead content manager over at ccghub.gg, where the biggest piece that I'm proud of is my Numbers Never Lie article. I absolutely love writing that article every single week. It is probably the most in-depth I've ever gotten into new card analysis, and the thing I'm probably personally most proud of on that site from my own projects on that aspect, because I do a lot, to say the minimum, but that one's my baby. So that's where you can pretty much find me everywhere, including YouTube.
My turn. All right. So I've been trying to get guests on this podcast for 8 months now. So I think Guest is one of the best creators in all of Marvel Snap, one of the best people to talk to in Marvel Snap, consistently insightful, always fun, always positive energy. He was one of the first people I ever saw in this game. We casted a tournament together at my very starting of content creation, and I was like, that guy is professional and amazing, and I want to work with him more. You should be watching all his stuff and reading all his stuff, because you know who else is? every creator you know. Everyone watches and reads his stuff. Sometimes I feel like the creators are like the majority of his audience, because like if he does something, we all talk about it. It's worth following if you want to be part of the discourse. It's worth following if you care and love Marvel Snap. So please check out Guest. Absolutely. Big Math.
Yeah, guys, you can find me on YouTube at Big Math with 2H or 1H. I'm not sure.
You're 2H. You're 2H on YouTube, I promise.
I'm 2H.
Nowadays.
Okay.
Nowadays, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a mildly autistic French Canadian that does videos and overanalyzes everything. Yeah, and also I think my biggest thing is that I always make my content better. I always work on everything. So if you guys caught me like a few months ago, or if you guys are catching me now, in the month, my content is going to be even better. I keep listening to criticism, make everything better. So I'm giving you guys the best experience. So yeah, YouTube at Big Math, and Twitter as well. I'm trying to grow my Twitter, and I'll see you guys there.
So a couple of months ago, a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, it was sometime over the summer. I'm teaching now, so summer has lost all meaning. It was a blur. Father Newman goes, "Do you know Big Math?" And I was like, "No, I have no idea who that is." He goes, "You need to watch his videos." And I go, "Huh, okay." So I do. And I'm like, "Oh shit, what?" Like, you're not supposed to be like that good that fast. You're just not. Like, you can go watch my first videos and cringe with me. I mean, you can watch my current videos and cringe with me, but people like them for some reason. But either way, like, Big Math is a burgeoning star, I promise. As long as he stays consistent and keeps doing this, like, he's going to eclipse almost everyone. It's not the same content as Collins, but it has the same feel as Collins, I think. At least to me.
Yeah.
Where, like, there's, like, a constant, like, level of analysis where, like, I'm looking at this from every angle I possibly can. And, like, but not, like, yelling at you about it, because a lot of that content, no offense to anyone who does or does not do this, can feel like it's trying to, like, boss you around, like, tell you what to do. Instead, this is trying to explain it, teach you, make you better. And I think that that's beautiful, and, like, I think that that is the recipe, along with, like, rest of the quality of the content for insane growth. So get in now, and you can tell everyone that you were there at the start.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Just don't stop. All right. Finally, that brings us to the end of our episode. Please don't forget to find Big Math, specifically on YouTube with 2 H's, because it's Matthew, apparently. Please don't forget to find It's Guest Gaming fucking everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. Pick a place. Guest is there.
Yep.
Are you on Blue Sky yet? Because I bet you it's coming. All right.
Soon.
Guest is one of the greatest. You are both welcome back anytime. You can find us on Marvel Snap Zone, hanging out on the Discord. I write articles there twice a week. I release daily videos at Snap Judgments Pod on YouTube, and I'm on Twitter at SnapJudgeCast. Thanks for joining me, Math.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
The pleasure is mine. Guest, thanks for joining.
Thank you so much for having me on, good sirs. And Math, it was a pleasure to chat with you about this as well.
Really was.
Peace and love, everybody.